etc. Oh, don't let them in the country club or whatever, or cartoons about there being vermin. You see, they can't. You can't then point to them as this kind of people. They must prove that they must become a nation, and so on. He's really quite amazing here. The mere fact of belonging to people is a mark of Cain on one's forehead, he's saying now in 1880s. Okay, part 2 here of his essay. After the Jewish people yielded up its existence as a political entity, it didn't submit to total destruction. It didn't cease to exist as a spiritual nation. Thus the world saw, this is an incredible, another lovely image from medicine, in this people the frightening form of the dead walking among the living. Yeah, dead man walking. This apparition, this ghost-like apparition of a people without unity, organization, land, etc., yet moving among the living. This eerie form, scarcely paralleled in history. I read it to you because I can't put it in his words. That's better we all hear it. Unlike anything that preceded or followed it, could not fail to make strange and peculiar impression upon people's imagination. Last year asking, this is another thing he says. Not just that, but that, of course, helped keep them in this horrific state. And he says, the fear of ghosts is inborn. I don't know if we still have that problem. Anyway, the fear of the Jewish ghost has been handed down and strengthened for generations. He calls it Judeophobia. And of course, Borat's a great example of Judeophobia. It's a form of demonopathy, demon pathology. And I teach the historical Jesus, as you know, and I have to tell you, I think the New Testament is infected with it. I'm sorry to tell you that, but I have the right to say it after all what's happened. And if good Christians of goodwill are not prepared to recognize that, that's their problem. You know, as I've said, Jesus, who supposedly was Jewish, would expect really good Christians to do something about such things. And I don't see that happening, etc. But in any case, it's there, and you'd have to be blind to miss it. A child wouldn't see it because that's how the child gets infected. But an adult reading these materials will see it. And there is this what he calls demonization, demon pathology, running through the texts, unfortunately. Comes from Greco-Roman sources. I don't think it's Palestinian. Anyway, it's the fear of ghosts, the mother of Judeophobia. He doesn't connect it to that, but I do. Which has evoked that abstract, and that's my answer. What I might call platonic hatred, because of which the whole Jewish nation is held responsible, yeah, well, there it is, for the real or supposed misdeeds of individual members. He just talks generally. He doesn't talk about the other one. And then he does, I guess, bring that up. They are said to have crucified Jesus, to have drunk the blood of Christians, etc., etc., etc. Thus have Judaism, bottom of the page, and anti-Semitism passed for centuries through history as inseparable companions. Yeah, he says here. You'd have to be blind not to see it, that the Jews are not the chosen people. Yeah, they're the people chosen for universal hatred. Yeah, since they lost their nation. And we're still singing. And it's just not among people in America of goodwill here in this class or in this university. We're seeing it in the international organizations, in the UN. I mean, it just exudes anti-Semitism. It's kind of frightening. We see it from all this Persian guy, just like spouts classical anti-Semitism. We see it on all the Islamic TV channels. Christians don't do this anymore because it's too embarrassing for them since what happened. But it's still they're not willing to combat it. They're not willing to do anything about it. And it's got to a crescendo now because the Jews are a little bit successful. A little bit successful, not a lot. Anyway, I don't know where it's going to end, and it's kind of frightening, but he says, having analyzed Judeophobia, on 186, as an hereditary form of demonopathy, peculiar to the human race, well, I think he goes too far there, but he has his hand on something. So, down at the bottom here. The foreigner, who has no need to be or seem to be a patriot, but as for Jews, he's not a native of his own home country, but he's also not a foreigner. He is in very truth a stranger par excellence. Now, we're going to have to see, this is being written in southern Russia, Odessa, on the Crimea, in the 1880s. And, you know, it's something that we can still appreciate 120 years later. The Jew can make no such return, consequently can make no claim to hospitality. The foreigner claims hospitality which he can repay, but the Jew can't repay it. He's not a guest, much less a welcome guest. He's like a beggar. Who makes beggars welcome? So you see, people saw this in Europe. The Reform approach is just papering it over for these people. They knew that Reform Judaism was a joke, a paper over kind of joke. In Europe anyway, not, you know, succeeded in America quite well, but in Europe it was, you know, stillborn. And he gives the reasons why. The Jews are aliens who can have no representatives because they have no fatherland, because they have none, because their home has no boundaries beyond which they can entrench themselves. Their misery knows no bounds. The general law doesn't apply to Jews as strangers. Medicine tried to make it happen, but it didn't. On the other hand, there are everywhere laws for the Jews. Like Negroes, like women, but unlike free people, they must be emancipated. So in the 1880s, women hadn't been emancipated either, though in America there was an emancipation, but the Americans went back on it in 1875 when the Reform Republican Party collapsed and the racist thugs took over in the South and instituted the Jim Crow laws. And from then on, it took another 100 years for America to realize the promise of the Civil War. In any case, so he goes on. Middle and bottom of that page. The legal emancipation of the Jews is the crowning achievement of our century in Europe. In America, it was the Afro-American situation. But legal emancipation is not social emancipation. That has also been the Afro-American issue. And with the proclamation of the former, the Jews are still far from being emancipated. The emancipation of the Jews naturally finds itself, its justification in the fact that it will always be considered to have been a postulate of logic, Mendelssohn, natural religion, natural law, or, if you like, enlightened self-interest. It was never a spontaneous expression of human feeling, warmth. Yeah, that's what I'm